this does bring up an interesting point, though, something that we'll have to discuss later. So we're just going to give a little bit of a tease. How about that? You don't even know what I want to say, Galen, but neither do the listeners. Okay, that sounds terrible. Editing all that out.
There's the half an hour mark with sugar.
Yes, there it is. Yo, what's good, morph balls and spider balls? Welcome to the Nintendo Everything Podcast, episode 26. I am your host, Oni Dino. With me, I have the human representation of the wave beam. It's Galen. Is that what a wave beam is to you? Is
That's supposed to be the wave beam sound.
Well, that was... What a letdown. Hey, PSA, everybody. Retro Studios is hiring developers specifically to join the Metroid Prime team for Prime 4. You're going to yawn about that? What are you doing?
That was more of a gasp than a yawn, totally.
Oh, it sounded like a yawn. Anyway, if any of you, dear listeners, think that you have what it takes to make a Metroid Prime comeback that'll blow everyone out of the water, then you can apply. Go to retrostudios.com/careers for a list of the available positions and to apply. I like that they're doing this. This is like super clever to reach out to the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Do they happen to say what positions they're currently looking for?
Yeah, if you go to the link, it has a whole bunch of them on there, and they're mostly like software engineers. One of them is like a managerial position, like a project manager kind of situation, but most of them are developers. Okay. So
nice.
Yeah. It's interesting time to be in game development because people who grew up playing games are now making games for the first time, and it's almost like asking to collaborate with passionate fans to make the game, and I love it.
Absolutely. That, and I feel that gaming is more of a pop culture icon than it has been in the past. So I feel like there's a wider audience of people who are going to be inspired by that kind of thing.
Exactly. It was not mainstream when, for example, you and I were growing up to be playing video games. Like, you almost didn't even mention that you played video games at school or whatever because people would make fun of you for it.
I mentioned it to everybody.
Well, that's how you and I became friends.
Exactly. And to be fair, you did make fun of some of the games I played, so...
To be fair, I still make fun of some of the games you play. I don't make fun of you for playing them.
No, you make fun of me for other reasons, but...
Yes.
Yes.
Anyway, PSA number 2. A Mario Kart Tour closed beta is planned for May 22nd through June 4th. This is the upcoming mobile title from Nintendo, and if you want to participate, you must be 1, an Android user, 2, be located in either the US or Japan, and 3, register through their official portal before May 7th, so check out our website, nintendoeverything.com, for details and links on all this stuff.
Yeah, this is pretty cool, actually. I got my own invite, so I definitely registered.
Yeah, so we're finally going to see what this game is. So, with that out of the way, all those PSAs out of the way, what's coming up in this episode? We got big Persona 5 controversy in the Nintendo community. We also got Nintendo commenting about hardware at E3, financial briefings from Nintendo, where they talk about the sales and the direction of the Nintendo Switch moving forward this year, and more info on Nintendo and Tencent partnering up to break into the Chinese market and release Switch in the mainland. Plus even more.
Hey. You were very upbeat when you said that. And plus more.
I'm trying to fake it till you make it. So there's so much to talk about, and we've also, Galen and I just briefly discussed this, we've also got a special spoiler cast coming up too for Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon Everybody. Now, I wanted to include that in this episode, like at the end or something, but we've got way too much to talk about this week, so there's just no time. Like, you already know, we don't know yet, but this is probably a long episode. So we just don't even have time for the spoiler cast. So we're going to release it separately. It's probably going to come out sometime midweek, maybe Wednesday. What do you think, Galen?
I'm really excited for an entire podcast of just talking about depressed Chocobo. Like that makes me so happy.
I have so much to tell you, but I can't do it here because it's not the spoiler cast. But especially so much. I have got to tell you, like, as soon as this one thing happened that I'm thinking of right now, I was like, I got to tell Galen. I can't believe that this just happened because it just got worse. It got worse than the last episode of the podcast where I was talking about it being depressing.
That's so much fun.
Poor Chocobo.
I gotta be honest, I listened to our last week's episode, like the edited version that went up, and like I knew the jokes were coming and I was still laughing out loud.
So anyway, check that out. It'll be coming out sometime mid this week. It'll be before next week's episode for sure. So you'll get bonus content from us. It'll be a separate download and clearly labeled. It'll be anywhere you listen to podcasts. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Pocket Casts, Player FM, a whole bunch of other places too. I don't even remember. So you can subscribe on any of those formats so you get notified when our podcasts go live. And on that note, this is a weekly show where episodes go live bright and early on Sunday mornings in the States. And if you subscribe to any of those places that I mentioned, you get the podcast early. If you listen on YouTube or wait for the post to appear on nintendoeverything.com, though, you have to wait a little bit longer. It comes out like midday Sunday on those two locations.
I actually do a lot of my listening on YouTube. I feel like I'm very active in the comment section that they have there.
Yeah. So leave a comment in the YouTube video and Galen will talk to you.
Yeah, no, I'll be very irritating with my jokes. But you can have those jokes directed towards you.
Directly? Are you doing the hand movement? I'm doing the hand movement.
I am. I'm imagining that I'm doing the hand movement and you're doing the Reggie tap.
Yeah, doing the Reggie tap, stern faced, shaking the booty. Aw, poor Reggie. Not poor Reggie, he just graduated. Graduated? What's the word? Retired. He retired. Jesus. Graduated.
Oh, that Reggie finally graduated and on to bigger and better dreams. Tossing the Mario cap.
So anyway, we got so much to talk about. We can't just waste any more time with this. Let's dive into today's topics. I don't think that your body is ready, Galen, but I gotta ask anyway, is your body Reggie?
No, my body will never be Reggie.
Let's talk about video games.
Yeah.
Adventure Log. So Galen, you have been playing Smash Ultimate this week. Why don't you tell me a little bit about it?
I have been playing a hodgepodge of different games this week. It's a little weird. The wife and I have been playing some Super Mario Party, and I love that game, but oh my gosh, I really hope they announce that they're coming out with new boards sometime soon. Like, it's weird. I've never wished for a game to have DLC before. Yeah, I'd be perfectly happy with an extra board and maybe like 5 or 7 different mini games for like $5. I think that would be perfect.
Interesting. How many boards do they have now?
They only have 4 right now. Yeah.
Yeah, that is quite few.
So you have one where you're in a mine. You have one where you're in a jungle setting. You have one where you're on some tropical islands, which is my least favorite one of the bunch. And then you have what I have affectionately called Trump's Tower, where it's like this golden tower that is honestly the most straightforward out of all of them because it's just a beeline and the star doesn't move. But the catch to that one is that the prices for the stars change depending on like a roulette wheel.
So you said that the stars don't move, but stars in general do move. Regardless, fake news.
No, normally they do. Yeah, normally the stars do move around. Like once somebody gets one, it jumps around to another spot on the board. But with this one, it stays at the end of the board, kind of like classic Mario Party, where it just stays at the end of the board. You get there, you buy your star, and then it sends you back to the beginning, and you have to get to the end of the board again.
Okay.
Yeah. But what is interesting is that they have a couple of different play modes that kind of take advantage of those 4 stages. So you have your traditional Mario Party format, and then you also have the newer, where it's like a grid-based system where you roll your dice, but you can move in a number of different directions, up, down, left, right. It's grid-based as opposed to board piece-based.
Okay.
And that one's more of a team-based one, like you and a partner go around to try to get all the stuff. So it's interesting, but again, it's just the same 4 boards. So they really need to add some more stuff in there.
I'm pretty surprised that they have not already added a couple boards through post-launch free DLC, because that has been their MO for so many other games. Actually, we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the podcast with the financial briefing, but they said how they want to keep evergreen titles green by introducing more free content in post-launch.
Exactly. And especially, I mean, Mario Party is one of their best sellers, which again, we'll get to in a little bit later. But yeah, I'm really excited to see the support that they are planning for this game, because I think this game is where you can put that amount of support and it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, though, I've been playing more on Epic. I've been playing a little bit of Smash. I've been trying to blitz through the World of Light mode. My focus hasn't been on one single game this entire week. It's been very bizarre for me.
I see. Actually, I have a bit of the same as well, but we'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah, so, and I mean, Oni, what have you been playing?
Oh, I guess we'll get to it right now. Oh my god.
We'll get to it now.
I scared my cat just now.
Aw, poor Boo.
So, I had a lot of time to game this week. One of the games that I started playing and beat right away was Momodora Reverie Under the Moonlight.
Okay.
So I said that with a crappy French accent, like Parisian French accent. Anyway, it's Momodora Reverie Under the Moonlight.
Okay. I have never heard of this game before.
I don't actually speak French. I just like to do accents. Actually, your laugh sounded kind of French. Anyway, this is the 4th game in a series, and it is actually a prequel, though, so there's no issue playing it as a standalone adventure.
Okay.
It's on sale right now in the eShop, and that's why I bought it. Had kind of my eye on it before. The sale was just enough incentive for me to pick it up. So Momodora is a side-scrolling action platformer with big emphasis on the action part, in my opinion. It's sort of Metroidvania, but not super overdone in that regard. There's platforming to be done for sure, but I'd say it's more combat heavy than platforming. There are branching paths and lots of things to do that can be done in a lot of different orders, so you have this great sense of freedom, but it isn't overwhelming like a lot of games in that genre can be, at least for me. For me, I always want to have some sort of direction, or at least suggested direction, and then I can do whatever I want. This is also a really difficult game too. You die a lot in combat because things hurt you all the time and unexpectedly, and the punishment for dying hits that sweet spot for me where you lose all your progress since your last save, so you definitely don't want to die, but then if you plan accordingly and save often at the save states, then you shouldn't lose more than a couple of minutes of progress at any given time.
So you're losing all your progress since your last save, so it's kind of like Dark Souls, right?
Okay, so first off, I hate... It's just, every time there's always a game where they're talking about the games, and for no reason they'll be like, it's like Dark Souls, and why about it, though, you know?
Sorry, I had to.
Now, the annoying thing is that, yes, actually, this is a little bit similar. I want to say it's actually reminds me of Bloodborne.
Uh-huh.
So that's the most frustrating part, is that you're actually right.
Can we substitute anytime there are elements of a game that remind us of Dark Souls? Can we say, oh, so it's just like Bloodborne instead?
I mean, I guess that's the better of the two compared. Well, no, because those are different. I mean, they are kind of. Oh, you just. Oh, you. Oh, damn it. It's visually, it is a pixel art aesthetic, and it's done in like my favorite style. It looks like this game could have released on a souped up SNES or a PS1. It reminds me actually quite a lot of Seiken Densetsu 3 on the Super Nintendo, where it is cute but also quite grim as well.
Yeah.
And there's loads of detail all over the environments where you just sit and stare at them for a moment, not only like in awe of their beauty and how well they were put together by designers, but also because you can kind of get hints that there is a story there in that environment. And I guess on that note, the story is that you're a priestess from a far-off village, and your village is affected by some awful curse, so you come to the town and the castle where the curse's source is, and you try to eradicate it. And so all of the environments have been transformed, and it explains why monsters are there, and the NPCs that you meet are just trying to survive, and it's weird, and that's why it reminds me of Bloodborne, actually.
Okay.
So
it does actually sound, like, all jokes aside, it does actually sound interesting.
It is, and it's not a really long playthrough. Like, I beat it in a couple of days. I want to say 3-4 hours maybe, and that's with me taking my time for sure.
That's really quick.
Yeah, so I'm glad that I got it on sale. But, I mean, it's beautiful. It's oozing polish in so many different ways. I have very few complaints about it. So I will say to anybody who is planning on playing this, the sound effects are excellent. Like when you hit enemies and everything, like the fighting and everything feels great. And the ambient sounds are great too. But I will say that I think that the sound is unbalanced. So for me, I turned everything down a skosh except for the music because I could not hear the music before at all. It was just the sound effects only. So then when I turned it down, it was way more balanced in my opinion. So do that as a recommendation if you're thinking about picking this up.
Okay.
Oh, and I forgot to mention, it's who is it made by? I wrote it down. So this was developed by Bomb Service. And I really, really liked this game. It was a fantastic short little experience, and just everything about it felt great, looked great. So I highly recommend it.
Yeah, like, game sounds really cool. I would love to add that to my queue of games that I need to play, but that list is already kind of long because I have way too many games right now on the Switch that I haven't even beaten yet.
I know what you mean.
No, I mean, like, I was going over that list just a little while ago, and like games like Nine Parchments and Wizard of Legends and Enter the Gungeon, Mario and Rabbids, and like I've got way too many games that are fantastic games. Highly recommend them. I just have not had the time I needed to dedicate to beating them.
Yeah, that's the frustrating part, is that those are quality games, right? So you want to play them.
Mm-hmm. So many quality games.
On the topic of quality games, I also played Yoshi's Crafted World this week. So right off the bat, way better than that terrible demo.
Good.
Yes, I had a feeling this would be the case, but it is so nice to have it confirmed. It's very relieving. This game is, without a doubt, absolutely gorgeous to look at. There is so much detail in the environment. Clearly that wins big points with me. I love looking at my environments in games so much. Now, I really loved Yoshi's Woolly World, but I think I like it more. Yoshi's Crafted World. Yeah.
Yeah, what is it about this one compared to the other one that you like more?
So it's hard to pinpoint because I haven't played a lot of it yet. I got through the first world and I just started on the second world. The levels are just really enjoyable to go through, and I'm more driven to keep playing them as opposed to Yoshi's Woolly World, where I'd only play a couple of levels and then I'd go on to something else and then come back to it and whatever. So something just keeps driving me. I think I'm just more engaged in this one.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a collectathon, right? So there's lots of optional stuff, but I think I am going to 100% this game because I'm just enjoying it that much.
Yeah.
That being said, though, there are some like fetch quest-esque things, which are optional.
Really?
Yeah, which you do have to go back into each level and find something in that environment that this like craft NPC wants. And I think that's very fun, but I kind of wish you could collect them as you see them your first run through and be like, this might come in handy later or whatever, rather than going through the level, waiting for the guy to say, okay, now I want this thing, and then you have to go back to the level and then find it. Again, this is all optional and everything, but still, it feels a little bit bloated. That's really my only complaint, though, because I do like looking in the environment for these things, and I just wish I could pick them up if I sort of notice it on my own ahead of time.
Yeah. Also, I mean, replayability is definitely a thing in games, so
yeah,
I can't really fault the game for having that kind of setup.
Yeah, as long as it's optional, I'm actually kind of okay with it, because you can go back to it at any time. So what I do is I'll do a couple of those quests, and then I'll go do something else, and then I'll come back later on in order to like avoid feeling fatigued, sort of mitigate it in that way.
I was actually just about to ask you, are you the kind of person who has more of a completionist mentality where you need to complete everything that level has, like every single check mark, before you move on to the next section? Or are you, hey, I'll do a couple now, I'll play more of the game and then come back to it a little bit later at my own pace?
So when I was younger, all right, I used to be more of that completionist mentality. Now, in my mature age, I consider myself more of a finishist.
A finishist?
Yes. That does not mean I am from Finland. However, what that means to me is that I do everything complete that makes sense to me. So, for example, in RPGs, sometimes there's like 100% completion for doing like something really ridiculous, like examining every dog in the game or something like that, Tales of Symphonia. And if I miss something in there, I'm not going to care. That is not something that matters to me. However, something else like the side quests for characters or whatever, that matters to me. Finding every single weapon, including the crappy ones that nobody uses because they suck, but it's hard to find. I don't care about that. So I'm not a completionist, but I am a finishist.
You're not the kind of person to get every single title achievable in a Tales of Symphonia game.
No, that's only for the crazy people. Who does that? So anyway, I also wanted to say that I'm just enjoying every moment with the game because I'm just smiling every time I'm looking at it. I think that playing the stages backwards and like in reverse, they call it the flip side, I think that that's brilliant, and I love that. Because they also make that slightly different where you're looking for the Poochie pups, which are adorable. And so you're constantly looking through the environment in the foreground and the background as you're playing through it. And it's also on a timer as well. So you're trying to aim to do a time trial kind of thing. And it's great. It feels totally different than playing it the first way through.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. There's so much more I want to say about it, but I'm going to keep playing and then you'll get some more thoughts out of me later. Sorry for talking so much.
Nice. Also...
Hey, that was pretty good.
Oh, thank you. We should have one episode where we just go back and forth and try to, like, we get a list and just try to do as many video game voice sound effects as we can.
Whip woo. Yeah, exactly. Nobody can make that sound with their mouth. So this week, big controversy. I keep switching between those two ways to say that word. Anyway, big news is the Persona 5 fake out. This week, Atlus revealed P5S, the title that they've been teasing for months. And it's not Persona 5 for Switch, it's Persona 5 Scramble, the Phantom Strikers for Nintendo Switch and PS4. It is a Warriors/Musou spin-off game, not unlike Hyrule Warriors or Fire Emblem Warriors. Now, we have to sort of unpack this a bit, because there's some stuff here. The Nintendo community feels very strongly about this. So, let's go into the controversy of Persona 5 proper not being announced for Switch, but this was. I think it's absolutely wild, but Galen, why don't you give me your impressions? This was announced at a concert as well, too, right?
I thought that was really weird to begin with. Like, you don't really see a whole lot of video game announcements at concerts. You do see concerts that are themed and celebrating games like the Legend of Zelda Orchestra, the Kingdom Hearts one, games have terrific music. But did a little bit of research, and turns out it was at the Persona Super Live Event 2019 concert.
Mm.
It was just celebrating all the great music that was in Persona, which, to be fair, it's got enough great music to actually warrant a concert to be held for it.
Oh my god, those soundtracks are such a bop. I love Shoji Meguro. He is so great. Actually, that's kind of how I grew to fall in love with the actual series of Persona, is through his music. Because I played Persona 2 back on the PlayStation. I liked it, but I never went through with it as a series. I never played P3 when it first came out, but I was listening to the P3 soundtrack all the time.
Oh yeah.
And then that's how I was like, you know what? I need to play these games because I love the music. And that's how that's my story.
Well, and I definitely feel like this is one of those, the Persona is one of those series where the music has so much to do with the identity of the game itself that you can't really have one without the other in a lot of cases.
Well said.
With that said, I'm going to talk purely on the trailer itself. Persona 5 Scramble, not Scrabble, like I originally thought it was, which I was very weirded out by. As far as a Warriors-based game, it looks fun. One thing that I did notice was that opening scene where he was kind of perched on the lamppost and saw all of the enemies kind of rushing into him. I liked that, and I would really like to see that kind of verticality used in a Warriors type game, like being able to jump up and survey the battlefield a little bit more before you jump back in. I haven't played a whole lot of Warriors games as of late. I think I tried Hyrule Warriors, but never sat down and played with it for an extended period of time. So, But looking at this and thinking about that verticality aspect, if that's something that they actually do put into the game, I'd be very happy with it, and I'd be interested to see how it goes.
Yeah, I hope so as well, because in actual Persona 5, which Switch fans will never get to know, you are a thief and you do have to sneak up on your enemies in order to initiate combat and stuff, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I guess let's talk about the trailer first before we go into the controversy.
Well, and I felt like the trailer was pretty straightforward. It didn't really...
It was like a teaser, really.
Yeah, it just showed that, hey, this is the game that we've been working on. There's not much to say otherwise about it, so
I got stuff to say.
Go right on ahead, Oni.
The teaser trailer shows Joker in Shibuya, Tokyo, at the famous crossing, the Shibuya Scramble, which I think is what the title is referring to.
That would make a lot more sense now. Yes.
And I hope that it is a roaming map, kind of like Dragon Quest Heroes 2 was, because that breathed such new life into the format that was Warriors. And also my university is in Shibuya, so if I can walk around Shibuya and do a bunch of killing in front of the main gates of my old stomping grounds, that'll be super surreal. Also, that crossing is so obnoxious these days because I don't know what's going on with people on the internet, but everybody takes pictures to put them on the internet of the crossing. You can't cross the damn street without getting hit by somebody walking backwards trying to get a photo by their friend, or a selfie stick hitting you in the face. It's obnoxious. It was never like that back in 2008.
I'm actually going to be taking a vacation to Japan a little bit later this year, so I'm definitely going to have to look out for those selfie sticks, because for me, those are right at eye level.
Oh my god, yeah! Jeez, I forgot about that. Especially the old grandmas that have the selfie sticks. They're basically just going to hit you in the chin.
When they're not trying to elbow me to get in front of whatever buffet table I'm standing in front of.
That's a reference to a real thing that actually happened. Galen is he is so tall and a large man, but he is very, very passive and polite and kind. And we were at a buffet table in Shibuya, and these old ladies were going underneath his arms because they're shorter than his arms, and just going underneath him and getting in front of him in front of the line. And I was like, he looked back at me like, help, because he was surrounded by people. He couldn't even back up. And I was like, you're in too deep. You have to go after the food. You have to get it and get out. But he just couldn't get there.
That was so funny. That entire trip was so funny.
Anyway, we're talking about Persona right now, not Oni and Galen's adventures in Tokyo, which might happen in the future.
That'll be a spoiler cast for another day.
Yeah. So anyway, yes, I think it is absolutely wild that this game, Persona 5 Scramble, was announced and Persona 5 proper was not announced for the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
I think off of the heels of having your main character from Persona 5 being included in Smash and then teasing a game with the moniker P5S and then it isn't Persona 5 for Switch, I think that they completely steered expectations into that direction. That, or whether they did that consciously, I think that there is still a bit of responsibility on Atlus's shoulders about people's expectations, because it is only natural for people, I think, to have assumed that P5S meant or could mean Persona 5 for Switch.
So I kind of have to disagree with you on this one.
Well, hold on. I disagree with myself as well, because technically they didn't say anything other than P5S, right?
Yeah.
But still, it was just that all signs pointed to a Persona 5 Switch port, and they, for lack of a better word, let that speculation get bigger and bigger without saying something. So I very much get the uproar in disappointment. I think that Atlus should have done a better job of nipping the excitement in the bud, or by teasing it with a different moniker, or just something. I think that steps could have been taken by Atlus to say, this is not Persona 5 for Switch, or just, I don't even know. Something could have been done rather than complete passive non-reactions.
Yeah.
There are several conversations to be had here, though, and one of them is the expectation versus reality conversation, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. See, where do I start with this? There's a bunch of different ways I can start with this.
There's a lot to talk about and unpack here.
Yeah, so let me start off by saying that I don't necessarily understand the disappointment in this. I mean,
yes.
People were speculating, people were saying, hey, Persona 5 for the Switch, S stands for Switch. What are you basing that off of? You're basing that off of one single letter.
Exactly. I agree with you.
The only other correlation that you have going on here is that Joker came out as a playable character in Smash Bros.
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand why people would want to make that connection. But one, that doesn't confirm that Persona 5 will be coming out for the Switch, because, you know, we're not seeing a Metal Gear game come out for the Switch, even though Snake came back out as a playable character. Smash Bros. Needs to be taken out of the equation when it comes to what we are going to be expecting on the Nintendo platform. I feel.
I mean, I agree with you to some degree, but Smash is integral to why people thought that this was going to be Persona 5 for Switch.
I know. I absolutely agree that is everybody's strongest argument, but what I'm saying is that I don't think that argument is as valid as everybody thinks that it is.
Yes,
now,
I agree with that sentiment. You're right.
The other thing that I wanted to say here is that there's nothing to say that Persona 5 can't still come out for the Switch. So
I also wanted to make that point.
Yeah. I want to lay down a train of thought here, which I feel is feasible and plausible.
Lay it down!
So Atlus comes out with these plans to make Persona 5 Scramble. They were originally going to put it out for the PlayStation 4, but they realized they can also put it out for the Switch, and Warrior games, I feel, do very well on the Switch, because that portability aspect plus that home console aspect, you can pick up and play it on the go, and the Warriors games have that kind of mentality of, I need that mindlessness when I am playing it.
I do. I shove it right in my face and I just turn my brain off.
Exactly. I feel like those two things kind of marry each other quite well.
I'm married to it.
I believe that Atlus's intention of putting Joker into the game was to kind of promote this Scramble game. Now, with that said, leaving it as ambiguous as they did and saying, hey, P5S, that could mean anything, they were judging public opinion to see if it would be worth bringing Persona to the Switch. Because you have to think, not only do you have to reprogram the entire game to be compatible with the hardware, but you also have to warrant people playing it on a brand new platform. Like there's a lot of different factors, and you have to sell that to your investors who are willing to put in the money to actually make this game. And Persona is a pretty big franchise, but I'm just saying, like, both the negative and the positive backlash from this. The people who are saying, hey, I'm really excited for if this is a thing, and more importantly, the people who are saying, I'm disappointed because this thing didn't come around, that just shows to Atlus that, hey, there definitely is a market for this.
Okay, so I got many things to talk about all that stuff that you just said.
Lay it on me.
So,
like I said, there's a bunch of different things we could go with here. So
there is. So I find it hard to, and of course we don't know. We're definitely speculating, so I'm not saying one way or another definitively, but I find it hard to believe that Persona 5 Scramble is being used to test the waters for Persona 5 proper to come to the Switch. I think that the inclusion of Joker and being the forefront of DLC number 1 for Smash, a game that sold over 13 million copies in less than 4 months, I think that is big enough. And I think that they're usually, not that they're usually, I would be surprised that if in the contract to have Joker in Smash, there was not something in the contracts or agreements to have Joker appear on another future game in some fashion. So maybe Persona 5R, Persona 5 Royal, is coming to PS4 only, but maybe it can come to Switch in the future as well, because that game is not even scheduled to release until 2020. And we've seen that before where games have been announced for other platforms, but then they also still come to Switch, and the game hasn't even come out yet. It's still in the promotion phases. So it still could come to Switch. There's no reason one way or the other why it could or couldn't come to Switch. It's just that people are very vocal about wanting it, especially now.
Yeah.
So I think that Atlus has to be taking note of that, and Sega as well, because Sega is Atlus's publisher, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So,
yeah. And I definitely think they're taking note of this. I think they're taking all the notes they can. I feel like this was very calculated.
I don't know if it was calculated, but I feel like it's more negligence than calculation, in my opinion. And I did want to go back, though, to what you were saying about, people, the consumers being upset, because I do agree with you on that, where, so often you hear an announcement made after a teaser in the games industry, and so many people are upset because they had expectations in their head of what it would be. Keyword would be, not could.
Exactly.
So being genuinely upset or acting vitriolic over this is absurd. Absolutely absurd, in my opinion. I took a peek at our comment section, and woof, it is a damn mess. And some people making good points and stuff, but it's over 300 comments long. I was like, all right, noping the hell out of this for today because I can't engage.
Yeah.
I get both perspectives on this, but also I'm not being one of those people that's like, well, you should be grateful that they announced this or whatever, because that is on the other side of the spectrum, equally unhealthy zone in my opinion as well.
So can I rant a little bit? And
isn't that what this show is? What is this show then?
No, absolutely. So
P5R, Persona 5 rant.
I have been seeing, I've been seeing this a lot in what I feel is popular vocal gaming culture.
Ugh, yeah.
And I feel that it is...
Listen to us complain about this, though. We have a freaking podcast that basically projects our voice.
Basically.
Anyway.
No, I feel like it is way too easy for people nowadays to put sudden blame on the publisher of a game before a game has even come out in regards to the actions that they are taking. People are getting upset at Atlus because they're not bringing Persona 5 to the Switch. People are getting upset at Gearbox because they made an exclusivity deal for Epic on Borderlands 3. People are upset with EA because, frickin' what was that game that I'm thinking of?
Anthem?
Anthem.
Yeah, I knew it was a trash game. You couldn't even remember. God, what a damn shame that game is. Remember how hyped you were before the game?
I was super hyped.
And now we can't even remember the name of the damn thing.
Yeah, I will be completely honest. I would still love to try out that game because I would love to fly around in a Iron Man suit.
It'll be down to like $10 in the very, very near future, so just wait for that.
Well, yeah, you're definitely right on that. It's an EA game. It's definitely going to happen like that. But
it's an EA game that undersold immensely. So they produced a lot of copies that are just going to go straight to the bargain bin. Anyway, sorry, go on. Back to track.
I feel that people are way too quick to judge a game before its actual finished product has come out.
Oh, absolutely. People were so upset to hear that Persona 5 Scramble came out, and they're immediately like, this shitty game or whatever they were saying. And it's like, the game is not even finished yet. It's not even out.
Yeah.
It can't even be out because it's not finished. Like, just hold on a moment, all right?
And it's like, okay, I respect your opinion if you're not into a particular style of gaming. Personally, I hate racing simulator games. I hate sports games. I feel that, you know what, it's not something that I would enjoy playing. But I don't actively judge the quality of a game based on the genre that it's in. I don't judge a quality of a game based on the actions of its higher ups. And I actually sent out a tweet about this earlier in the week, too, because and this is the rant part of it. I'm going back to Borderlands 3. So a YouTuber I follow called The Completionist, he recently sent out a tweet saying, hey, there's going to be new footage for Borderlands coming out next week. So I was reading all the comments in his tweet, and they're all about how I'm never going to play this game because of Epic. I'm never going to do this thing because Randy Pitchford is scum. I'm never going to play this game because Gearbox completely screwed over whatever. And it's just like, there's more than one person who are trying to bring out this game. Gearbox, for example, is a company that has, I think when I last checked, 300 to 350 people employed in it. Most, if not all, those people are trying to bring a good product. They're trying to do the best that they can because they are passionate. You do not stay in the gaming industry in a developer standpoint if you are not passionate about the work that you are doing.
As a developer on the low rungs of the ladder, the people that get crapped on.
Exactly. Say what you will about, Randy Pitchford's comments, which I honestly think he was basically like acting like a kid saying, hey, if you don't play nice, I'm going to take my toys and go home. But that's besides the point. I feel like the fans and the community and the players have gotten into this point of, well, gaming is popular now, so you should cater to my ideals, and if everything doesn't go exactly the way that I want it to, then you are terrible, horrible scum. It's such an extreme viewpoint, and it's exhausting. It's like, I can't even enjoy games nowadays anymore when it comes to game announcements. Like, I feel like I have to be critical about some things or risk getting viewed as a fanboy who's too obsessed with everything. Like, I would love to say and be excited, hey, I really want to play Anthem, but I feel like I can't because people have already had this opinion that it's a horrible game and it's not even worth playing, and I'm foolish for even wanting to do so.
I mean...
Sorry, rant over.
No. I actually have so many friggin' things to say about that I'm inevitably going to be forgetting some of these things that I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go back to the Randy Pitchford thing, and I get when people are like, okay, Randy Pitchford is a piece of crap, I don't want to buy his game. I understand your perspective of there are more than just one person involved in making this game. So I agree with that, but at the same time, I'm also expecting a company to hold their COO or whatever the hell Randy Pitchford is. I don't even know. What is he? Is it the COO of Gearbox?
I think he is.
Yeah. So anyway, I expect them to hold him accountable, and he is like, he's terrible in like everything I've seen. He's not a good presenter. He's not a good PR person. And I don't know why he's still there, especially after all this crazy stuff, the allegations that came up recently with the porn stuff and all the things I don't want to get into.
Yeah.
So I don't even know why he's there. So I would expect the company to hold him accountable. As consumers, I can understand the perspective of, I don't want to buy this because I don't want to support him and I don't want to support that company until they kick him out, and then I'll support it. I get that. And then on the mention of you feel like you can't even enjoy gaming, no one is actively ruining that game for you. You know what I mean? So you have to, I understand that it kind of, it spices, it flavors the meat, where you can't help but think about Anthem without thinking about the controversy, and you can't help thinking about people's opinions of it, but you have to do your best, I think, to just be like, no, whatever, I'm going to play what I want to play. I'm going to wear what I want to wear, you know, that kind of thing. And that's way easier said than done. You and I both had, for example, childhoods where people made fun of us, so we know that you just get made fun of for like anything ever. So you just have to kind of go along and do your own thing in gaming, in life, in whatever choice you want to make. And that goes back again to, you were reading, you know, some comments where they said that the people that play Muso games are brain dead or something like that. I don't think it's good to accuse someone of having fun with a game and saying that they're not having the right kind of fun. I just think that, like, it's going about it wrong. Yeah. You can dislike the game for sure, but going after the people who are playing the game for fun, that is just cruel, and it just kind of makes you mean.
Yeah. I remember reading a psychological essay where basically it was about video games and why people play video games. And it said that most games fill one of three base needs or desires within us. The ability of mastery, being able to say, hey, I've got this down to a science and I can do it in my sleep, and feeling an accomplishment on that. There's that feeling, the feeling of completion and achievement, being able to say, hey, I worked really hard at this and I was able to get everything done. I collected all of the Korok seeds. I collected, you know, all the costumes, and they get a sense of achievement out of that through playing it. And then there are the people who need a sense of autonomy and just a sense of, hey, I'm going to make the choices that I want to make, and I want to have that choice actually matter in, like, feel like there's a weight and a, you know, a meaning behind the choices that I'm making. And a lot of people who play games, they are looking for one or more of those things. People who play these, you know, Muso warrior type games, they're probably looking for something where they feel accomplished and they feel, you know, satisfied when they press a button and they see 6 guys just fly off the screen, because those games have ridiculous number of enemies.
Yep, huge flamboyant attacks.
Exactly. It triggers a sense of endorphins within you that makes you feel accomplished. It makes you feel like you're doing something, and it makes you have fun.
Yeah.
If you already have an excess of that element within your life, you might not need this. That's perfectly fine. People who play sports games and wanting to have a mastery of the tactics that go into it when they're playing football or when they're playing soccer. Like, I don't share in that particular thing, but I'm not going to judge anybody for having and needing that kind of an escape.
Right. Like, we all need to be a little bit nicer to each other. I think that the internet is currently filled with lots of vitriol, and we can just be nicer to each other and be a little bit more polite when sharing our opinions. I'm sure that to somebody, they're like, oh, that sounds, I don't even know, what do people say? Cock, or whatever people say. So fine, whatever. I don't care.
You know what? I feel that was very well said. I think you put it perfectly.
Yeah, just try and be a little nicer. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort to just say something a little bit nicer. You know, when you reread your comment to see if you have a spelling error or something, just reread your comment to see if you have a rudeness error. You know?
If you have a social error in it.
Yeah.
I get passionate about this.
No. This is a great conversation to have about this, because gaming has gotten bigger, and then suddenly it's, you know, us versus them mentality in so many different ways. And I mean, it's human nature to kind of do that, but we can break ourselves away from that. It's just like when you're a child and everything is like, no, mine. You can break away from that mentality, that human nature of protecting your things because, oh my God, I might not have food tomorrow kind of thing. Like, that's not the society we live in. That's just like human nature. Same thing with the us versus them, trying to identify the other. And that's human sociology. Going back to video games. Let's talk about video games. I wanted to say that I am glad to hear this announcement of Persona 5S, because I know I'm in the minority on that, but I don't have a dog in the fight of Persona 5 coming to Switch. I already own that game on PS4, and so I was probably never going to buy Persona 5 again on Switch. And I love Warriors games when they're done well. There's a huge difference in quality when enough money and time is thrown at a Warriors game. For example, Hyrule Warriors or Dragon Quest Heroes 2 are great. Dynasty Warriors 9, abysmal. There's a huge disparity there. So ironically, the spin-off titles have been better than the actual Warriors mainline series. It's weird. So I have hopes for this one. And
yeah. And you know what? Going back to what we were saying before, Persona 5 might come down later down the road, but for now, this is a good thing. It's more Persona on the Switch as far as like the franchise as a whole. And if people really kind of invest in this and they really like it, it might show Atlas, hey, maybe I want to branch out more and, invest more in the Switch with more games and things like that.
Yeah, I agree, but you do have to be careful with that sentiment because lots of people don't like to hear, okay, well, you have to support this game that you don't really want for the game that you actually want. And I understand that sentiment a lot too. It just so happens that both of those games are in line with what I want, so I will be buying both or whatever. I mean, I already bought Persona 5, but I will be buying this P5S. And my thought on that, though, is what I really encourage people to do is who are feeling upset, the people that feel upset about Persona 5 not coming to Switch, go to Atlas's website, find their contact section, write them a brief, professional, non-emotional email requesting them to port Persona 5 to Switch.
Yeah, exactly that. Like 100% that.
I know that you might think it falls on deaf ears, but it doesn't with the customer service industry. From working in the customer service industry, and especially if everybody does that is upset that this game is not coming to Switch yet, send them the email. A nice, professional, brief email.
And you know what? The old adage of money speaks loudest when it comes to basing your opinion on things, it may speak loudest, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the only voice that you have in this one.
Right, exactly. Same thing like I was saying about Borderlands. Like if you hate Randy Pitchford so much and you're not going to support Borderlands 3, that's your choice of you being like, no, my money talks, and that's what you're choosing to do. Same thing with this game. If you don't want to buy it, don't buy it. And also, separate from that, another avenue to getting the game that you want on Switch, send them the email.
Exactly.
So hopefully Persona 5 actually does come to Switch. In the meantime, I'm looking forward to P5S. I know I'm in the minority on that.
Hey, I'm right there with you.
Thank you so much for playing my game.
So moving on, lighten it up a little bit.
To our second topic.
To our second topic of the day. Nearly an hour in. Lighten it up a little bit with Super Mario Maker 2. We got an announcement that it is launching June 28th of this year. And in the EU, there will be a limited edition console bundle with a 12-month Nintendo Switch Online membership included. Additionally, a special Mario Maker themed stylus will be available at select retailers as a bonus for players who buy the game at launch. Pre-orders on the eShop will also go live with a standard edition and a bundle edition that includes the game and a 12-month Nintendo Switch Online membership. Presumably at a discounted bundle price. I think we have pricing for the Japanese eShop already, and it kind of comes down to basically being like $10 off. And additionally, players who pre-order the bundle digitally will also be eligible to receive a stylus as well. That kind of reminds me of the original Mario Maker on Wii U. If you bought the game digitally, you could still get that little booklet. You just had to call up Nintendo and be like, give me that for free. And they'd be like, are you sure you don't want the digital version? And you're like, no, the thing, please, the real. And then they're like, okay.
Yeah, this is really cool. First off, June 28th, that's a lot closer than I was expecting. Like, I thought this was going to be like a late July, mid-August release, to be completely honest.
Yeah, this is only 2 months away, and we've only seen one trailer of it, right? So I'm surprised they haven't done more promotion on it yet, but I expect them to ramp it up from here on out.
You know, I know when they came out with the original Mario Maker, a lot of the promotion they did was actually on more of the social media side. I know that they actually did a huge thing where they brought a couple of YouTube influencers and like...
Let me hold on. You have to stop after you said that. I need to vomit.
They had them all come in and like make their own personal levels, and there was actually a contest of of the people who made levels, who made the best level, and people could go on and vote. It was just a fun way to kind of spread the word among people who are passionate about that about the game. So I wouldn't be surprised if they take a very similar social media aspect for the promotion on this one, considering that a lot of this game is going to be really about what can you create in the game, not what can we wow you with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, actually, that's totally true. Well said.
Yeah. Second thing is going to be on the bundle version. Now, you said that it was from the eShop prices, it was like a $10 savings or something?
So I think that we have, and I'm not sure if this is confirmed yet, but I read somebody saying that we have the Japanese pricing, not the European or the North American pricing or whatever. And according to Japanese pricing, it's going to equate to about a $10 savings to buy the bundle.
Yeah. For the stylus that it comes with, I mean, that's cool. I feel like it definitely is something that people are going to want because you didn't have to really get around that with the... I think the stylus is more important on the Switch than it is for the Wii U when it came out originally.
What?
Because
I totally
with the
disagree.
Wii...
What are you talking about?
Well, no, I feel like with the Wii U, you at least had the stylus that came in the tablet, so you could use that if you didn't get the special, like, Nintendo Edition one.
Yeah, okay, I thought you meant, like, just in practical use, not receiving
the
special thing.
No.
Yeah, you need that for the Wii U, because otherwise you have to use your fingernail, and even then it's kind of, like, imprecise, because that was a different screen. There's resistive touch, and then, I forgot what the other one is called.
Capacitive.
Capacitive, thank you.
Resistive is when the two screens are basically touching each other and it registers the connection between those 2 points, where the capacitive registers the feedback, like the magnetism of your finger to register what's actually being pushed on it. That's why you can't use like a pencil or something like that on a cell phone.
Right.
But you can use like an eraser.
I was just going to say the eraser. You flip it around.
With that being said, I mean, stylus looks cool.
Sure.
It honestly reminds me though of those, and I used to work in retail, so I used to have this happen a lot, but we would get a lot of tech companies like come to try to like promote their product among the people who are selling it in store, and it would always be something stupid like a tape measure with the logo on it.
Yeah. What can they slap their logo on that's cheap?
I think I seriously have neon pink Ray-Bans with the Motorola logo on the side of it. That's besides the point.
Super is Mario Maker. At least has practical use though for Mario Maker though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If there was any game to kind of bundle with this, I feel like Mario Maker would be the one.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that actually it's not just included straight up in the case for the game, but I guess quite an expense.
That actually leads up to the other point that I wanted to make. So this bundle pricing, if we're accurate in what we're hearing, it is like a $10 savings. Average games go for about $60 right now, so the bundle would be probably about $70.
Right.
My question is, do you think that is a good selling point, or would you rather go for just the game itself and save yourself that extra like $10?
So I think that the implication here is that you need Nintendo Switch Online in order to do level sharing or playing online or something like that. Probably the core functions of the game is going to need that. So they know that lots of people have not adopted to the Nintendo Switch Online. So this is a good way to, I guess, lessen the blow of buying it.
Nintendo has gone on multiple records saying that they want to really try to push their Nintendo Online service. So I think we're going to see a lot more of these kind of, buy the game and you can get a year of online for half off.
Yeah, I could see that, I guess. I don't know. I wish that they would add SNES games. That'd be nice.
I bet you we're going to see another deal like this when Animal Crossing comes out.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. So in other news, Nintendo has reaffirmed their E3 plans, and they also made a statement that they have no plans to announce new hardware at E3 this year. Nintendo president Shuntaro Furukawa mentioned at the financial results briefing that happened the other day their plans for E3. He said, quote, we plan to continue our practice of the past few years, which is to release a video presentation discussing the games that are planned for release during the fiscal year, provide hands-on opportunities, and so on. Sorry for my strange pause there. I can't read. End quote. Oh, that was... he didn't say that. The end quote happened earlier. Shit. I mean, darn. Shut up.
You want a second take on all that?
No, we're moving on. There's no more time left in the day.
We haven't even gotten to the financial stuff yet.
Furukawa also mentions the World Championships for Smash Ultimate and Splatoon 2 will also be held during the event. The question came to him in the Q&A part of the briefing, and it was asked to him, obviously propped up from all of the hardware rumors that we've been hearing in, the past couple of months from major outlets such as Nikkei and Wall Street Journal. So one rumor said that they'd be announcing new hardware at E3. So he said, nope, not happening. And again, this goes back to reality versus expectation. And you just have to remember that everything we've been hearing, this is all rumors still.
One thing that I'm taking from this is I think it's very interesting that he said we will not be announcing any new hardware at E3.
So I think that that's actually looking into it just a little bit too much, because he was asked, will you be announcing stuff at E3? And he said, no, we'll not be announcing new hardware at E3. So I don't think he's trying to be like, we're not going to announce any new hardware at E3. I would not look into this. Like, they have announced hardware outside of any kind of major event. They announced the new Nintendo DS and the 2DS on a 3DS. I don't know why I said that. Through videos like on YouTube and stuff. So it's not unlikely that we could see a Switch revision, whichever direction it goes in the future, in just a video. Whatever. Just don't expect any hardware at E3, okay?
Nintendo has really been kind of moving away from the importance of E3 itself, and I feel like they're doing that for good reason. Having this one or two events during the year to really kind of showcase all of your stuff kind of all up front is very limiting in a lot of senses. Their smartest decision that they made in the past couple of years was switching over a lot of their stuff to the importance of Nintendo Direct.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody's trying to copy that format, and they haven't gotten it down yet. I mean, not even Nintendo sometimes doesn't get it right, but when they get it right, they get it right, you know? There's a reason everybody looks forward to Directs.
Yeah.
So something that this does bring up that we're going to have to save for another time because we don't have time to discuss that today is Nintendo needs to somehow address that in the next 2 or 3 years, that the PS5 and the Xbox 2 or whatever the hell they're going to call it, those are going to be out. And a lot of third-party developers will leave the Switch behind due to the huge gap in specs. So Nintendo needs to do something about that looming issue because it is a big one. You know, do they create some sort of stopgap thing that connects to the dock and makes it operate future next-gen games as docked only? Is that even a technical possibility? Do they create a quote-unquote new Nintendo Switch like they did with the new 3DS, where everything's compatible, but there are occasionally software or option for developers to make software that are only for the new edition? And I don't know, it's a crazy speculative conversation that we can have sometime in the future because it is going to be an issue for them. They're stuck right in the middle.
When you talked about new consoles for Microsoft, I, for some reason, got the idea that they should call their next console the Xbox Zone or the Xbox Zero, like going down, just so they can have the abbreviation of Xbox Zone.
Why? Why would you call it the Xbox Zone?
Because it was a... Okay, I messed up the joke. It was supposed to be the Xbox Z, or Xbox Zero, so the abbreviation would be Xbox Z, and then they would come out with the refreshed version inevitably later down the road, where they would call it the Xbox 01, like they do with the current one, and then it would just be Xbox Zone as the abbreviation. So they go from X-Bone to X-Zone. They're going to the bone zone.
That could be the worst thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
It's late. I'm tired.
That could have been the worst thing I've ever... Oh, Galen, that sucked.
I was doing so well today, too.
Sure. So that's going to take us right into Nintendo's financial briefing. They're... Just don't. You're laughing and you're embarrassing me in front of the spider balls and the morph balls. So there's lots of information and analytics for you analysis nerds. The big takeaway, though, is number go up. Growth go big. This year again.
Mm-hmm.
Switch hardware and software sales are up year over year again, and that is great news. We've got all the bar graphs and links to the many different stories on our page and on the podcast link, so check out if you want to get into the nitty gritty, nintendoeverything.com. But we're going to pull out a couple of good talking points on this. Number one is that the Switch has now outsold the Nintendo 64 in worldwide sales. Switch is now at just under 35 million. Mm-hmm. And it is also on course to outsell the 3DS in all territories and outsell the DS in North American territories.
Yeah. So I noticed that the Switch sold 34.74 million, where the N64 sold 32.93 million, which got me thinking as to what other consoles the Switch has outsold up until this point.
That would be the Wii U and the GameCube, right?
Going down the list, we have the Dreamcast at 8.2 million. The Wii U at 13.9 million. Mm-hmm. The PlayStation Vita at 16.1.
Wait, that can't be. The PlayStation Vita sold 16 million in Japan alone, I bet.
Probably. And then the 1 million was what was sold here.
No.
In the States.
Hold on. We're looking it up now.
While you're looking that up, GameCube sold 24.6 million. The original Xbox also sold 24.6 million. And the Sega Genesis sold 29.54 million.
Hot damn, you're right. The Vita only sold 16 million worldwide?
Yeah. Yeah.
God, that's a really low number. I thought that it sold much, much more.
That's probably the reason why they lost so much support for it so quickly.
Huh. Well, that's amazing that it even got as much support as it did. Mm-hmm. I mean, of course, Japan was like the major market for that. It sold nearly 6 million there. But wow, only 6 million in Japan.
I actually read somewhere that they actually just announced a new Vita game, like...
They did, yeah.
Recently.
Yeah, a third party.
Yeah, and that really threw me off. I was just like, people are still making things here?
Oh gosh, looking at the Xbox One sales, I didn't realize it was so low. Like, this is a little bit outdated information because it even shows the Switch at 30.5 million, so it's currently at 35 basically. So this is a little bit outdated, but the Xbox One is at 43.15 million. So the Switch is going to outsell the Xbox One for sure.
Yeah, and the site that I got a lot of my stats were taken from like end of the year 2018, so these can definitely have changed by now.
Yeah, I'm looking at VG charts right now.
Yeah, that's exactly what I got it from.
Okay, yeah. They're pretty reliable, I think. I'm sure somebody will complain about it, though.
Remember to do it on YouTube. I'll see those ones.
So anyway, with all that said about hardware sales, the software sales per hardware unit is much higher for the Nintendo Switch than it was for the Wii, which is a really interesting statistic. My personal takeaway from that is that more Switch owners are buying more software than with the Wii. I think that the Wii, this is just personal takeaway, I think that the Wii sold so many units based off of simple games like Wii Sports and such, and the casual players like Grandma or your friend who hasn't touched a video game since maybe Atari, they didn't buy really any additional software, and they didn't become an actual video game consumer. With the Switch, I think the Switch is hitting those dedicated gaming demographics. People who play and buy games and are invested in the industry.
Well, and I feel like a lot of that has to do with the fact that the Switch is much more appealing of a console when it comes to your traditional gaming. Like, you think of a lot of the games that they've come out with, Mario Kart, Smash Bros., Super Mario Odyssey.
Now you're just naming
Splatoon.
All of the games off of the top 5 list.
Yeah. Well, and that's my point exactly. Like, a lot of these games are, with the exception of maybe Splatoon, they're kind of sans the motion control element, and it's your usual push stick, press button, move character, throw hat.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the top-selling Switch game at just under 17 million units.
That kind of surprises me, but at the same time, it doesn't. Like, was it a launch title? I can't remember. If
I want to say it came out in May of the launch year, in what was that, 2017? So, just after
so
launch.
like a couple months after, yeah.
It's just the power of Mario Kart.
Yeah, gotta love that Mario Kart. One thing that I did want to say, one, I'm really happy to see Nintendo Labo made that list, because it rounded off at like 1.09 million units. The only third-party one that is not exclusively like a Nintendo property or a traditional Nintendo property, Octopath Traveler.
Yeah. If I remember right, on our article, we had a little asterisk on there because it was excluding Japanese sales or something. I don't know why, but I mean, that shows that it was even higher than what that number was on there. I want to say that I saw that. That could have been in a separate article. I don't remember.
Yeah. These are the kind of games that if you are a little kid who is kind of learning to play video games right now, like if the Switch is your version of the Super Nintendo, like these are the kind of games that are going to inspire 2, 3, 4 generations down the line worth of people playing games.
Yeah, that's the Nintendo magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. They did mention in the financial briefing, Furukawa said that Pokemon Sword and Shield are, quote, being developed to emphasize the fun of playing Nintendo Switch in handheld mode, end quote. Whatever the hell that means. I can't imagine what that means at all. Just more of the same? I mean, imagine it's a Pokemon game being in handheld mode.
And I think this is to kind of differentiate that it's going to be more tried and true to the traditional Pokemon style versus what has been introduced as Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu. Because, like, you have to admit, Pikachu and Eevee are very, very different games than any of the other Pokemon games in the series.
Oh, yeah.
And it's definitely worth mentioning because the Let's Go series has sold so well.
Where are you going with this?
Well, and I'm just saying that Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu have sold, I think, a combined of 10.6 million units together. On the 3DS, like, it's outselling some of the traditional Pokemon games. Like, Sun and Moon sold 16.15 million, but the Ultra version only sold 8 million. There are some people who have been introduced to the series and are more familiar with the series for the Let's Go than they are the regular Pokemon series. So I think this is just his way of kind of saying, hey, this is going to be more of a traditional Pokemon experience, don't expect to be like throwing the Pokeball at things like you would be in Let's Go.
I see.
Yeah.
For me, either way, I'm just not super hyped for the new Pokemon game yet. I know we've barely seen anything about it, but I was a little bit let down by just what I saw. I was kind of hoping they would do something different with it, and it looks a whole lot like more of the same.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I still have high hopes for the game because some of the images and some of the settings that they put them in, like that one image where they were going through the foggy forest, I think that looks really cool. I really want to explore that forest.
Yeah, that was part of what I said in I think a really old podcast before. I want to explore environments, and I want to feel like I'm really in there. So I hope that they kind of go that route a little bit. I did see a skosh of that in the woods that you were talking about. So we'll see. I just want to see Pokemon in their own habitat, that kind of thing.
Exactly. In that same conversation, I made the comment of I would love to see Pokemon in like a Mega Man Battle Network-esque grid-based battle system.
How often do you listen back to our old podcasts, you weirdo?
I've got a really weird memory. I cannot remember anybody's birthday, but if you tell me about a TV show or a podcast from like 5-6 months ago, I could probably tell you exactly what it was in it. Yeah.
So Nintendo also made point to mention in the financial briefing that third-party support is going well and that more Switch dev kits have been shipped to publishers than any of its previous platforms. Nintendo also showed off its 2019 lineup of games that we know so far, and they reaffirmed keeping games fresh over a long period of time. They made mention of Smash getting the Stage Builder update recently that was free, and how Mario Tennis Aces, which came out last year, has been steadily receiving free DLC ever since its launch. So, in addition to that, with upcoming titles like Mario Maker, Animal Crossing, Pokemon, it's easy to imagine that they'll release like post-launch free DLC or updates or events and contests, stuff like that. But what I'm more interested in is what could they do for games like Astral Chain or Luigi's Mansion 3 or Zelda Link's Awakening?
Mm-hmm.
Particularly Astral Chain, because I am all about that life.
Only time will tell. I mean, a lot of these games we know very little about, and I feel like Nintendo's been keeping everything kind of close to the chest on purpose.
That's true.
And kind of go back to what you were saying before, they've also been, I'm really excited to hear them giving out more dev kits to more third-party publishers, because they have been knocking it out of the park when it comes to these smaller games.
Like what?
Like Katana Zero and Wargroove.
Yeah. I like the smaller developers. I'm a bit disenfranchised, as I've said before, with the big major AAA gaming, and I'm really looking at Nintendo and indies primarily these days. That and the lower ones, the single A and double A, which is whatever, if that makes any sense.
I'm really excited to see what is going to be coming down the pipeline in all aspects. Like, I want to see them grow the games that they have already proven are great games to play. Again, I would love to see more stages on Mario Party. Just saying.
Right.
And I know they've been really consistent on new characters for like Mario Aces or Mario Tennis.
Yeah, they're non-stop new characters. I think Dry Bones just came out, right?
I would also love to see them go back to Mario Kart, and especially with Mario Kart Tour coming up soon, I would love them to partner that with people who have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and come out with like maybe new stages and new updates and things like that.
Hey, that's actually a really good thought, because they could say, okay, you can get this in the game in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, all you, what did I say, 14, 17, 18 million people that own it, and
yeah,
you can get this if you play this far in Mario Kart Tour or whatever, and then you link the games together. And like, you can still play it and you can still get it for free, but you got to keep playing. But like, the incentive is to like play Mario Kart Tour and probably do stupid microtransactions or whatever the hell those are going to be. But they could capitalize on that 18 million people.
Oh, absolutely. It's saying, hey, if you play the beta, you get a special cart that you can drive around in. And they don't even have to make it completely unbalanced or anything like that. They could just be like, it has the same stats as a standard cart, but it's cool. You know,
Yeah.
You see other games that do kind of legacy items like that, and I feel like that's something you could definitely have in a Mario Kart series.
So for me, like, I don't care. That's fine, because I just don't care about those things, but I understand that lots of people don't like that in video games, like timed exclusives or for example, content being locked behind an amiibo or something like that. So
yeah,
that's a tricky subject.
It is, but Nintendo has been doing so much experimentation with the boundaries on where they can push things and where they need to make their stand on, that I feel like, because especially they do have their whole amiibo thing, like amiibos are definitely something that are not going away anytime soon, even though they haven't really done anything with them too recently other than supporting the Smash Bros line. They put a lot of effort into making these collectibles, and they've sold really, really well in the past. So they're finding new ways to kind of like meet that middle ground and meet that compromise for everybody. So I feel like combining their mobile games with their legacy games, if you will, like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I feel like you can definitely have some sort of compromise going on that as well. But I'm just definitely saying I see there's more potential here than risk of making people upset.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've just read comments on the internet. Boy, do people have opinions. People got some damn opinions about frickin' Nintendo. Hot damn.
Mamma mia.
And finally, Nintendo confirms its partnership with Tencent to release Switch in mainland China. Following the substantial rumors that we reported on last week, they finally confirmed their collaboration. Furukawa commented at the financial briefing that due to many additional applications to the Chinese government and others for their software, the prospective launch period is still unknown though. He goes on to say, quote, Tencent controls the biggest foundation in both China's markets for net communications and games. We can maximize our business expansion in China by working with them. But as we haven't announced a launch date, we are not including it in our forecasts, end quote. So they're not sure when it's going to launch yet at all. They can't put a number in their forecast of we're going to expect growth because of China or whatever.
Yeah.
So what he's talking about with these applications that I wanted to mention is the government's very restrictive game approval policy. We sort of touched on this a little bit in the last podcast that we did last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked into it a little bit further and I found a really fantastic article that Amanda Farrow at GameDaily.biz did this past week on the process. And this article that she wrote details how strict the government is on approving the sale of any game and how it's expected that less than 5,000 new games will be approved in 2019. That is across console, mobile, PC, HTML5, and so on. So lots of really interesting information in there. I highly recommend you read that article if you're interested in the games industry as an industry and the struggles that Nintendo is going to face in the uphill battle to release Switch and its software in mainland China. Do you not have anything to say?
So this entire thing is interesting. Yeah. So in my notes, I actually have two things. My very first thing I typed in here was meh. And cool. You're so great at being the podcast person. Why would you write meh on notes about something that we put on the freaking docket? Like, when I read this at first, I didn't have much of a reaction to it, to be completely honest. And this kind of goes with my same feeling as last week, as I was very unfamiliar with a lot of the challenges of selling in a Chinese market. I'll claim ignorance when it comes to that one. With that said, though, looking a little bit more into this and thinking about it, this actually has me a little concerned on Nintendo's stock.
Why? It's only been shooting up ever since they've been talking about China. Investors love China, man. They don't care about anything but like money, so they love China.
Oh, absolutely. But I don't think investors fully understand video games.
No, investors don't understand anything. Do you remember the last financial briefing? Somebody asked, when are you going to release your games on PlayStation or whatever? They're invested in the freaking company's stock and they don't understand anything. They just understand money. That's it.
Exactly. So the reason that I have a concern on this is I'm thinking on the last big stock bump that Nintendo had. And the last one that I can remember was back when they had Pokemon Let's Go. Their stock shot up, exponentially. I mean, it was...
Are you talking about Pokemon Go?
Yeah, Pokemon Go, not Let's Go. I'm sorry. When that craze hit, I mean, everybody went absolutely crazy for it. And then when people realized that Nintendo didn't actually own the rights or anything for Pokemon Go, their stock plummeted. I think I remember something that they lost like 4% of their stock when the dust had finally settled for that Pokemon Go incident.
Oh, they actually came out the opposite end?
Yeah, it went down 4% because everybody was like, oh, wait, you guys don't own this crap. Sell everything while the stock is super high right now. It's like, it was an extreme jump and fluctuation within the market.
Well, that's the disgusting volatility of the damn market. This is a capitalism thing, for us to talk about, which is kind of heavy-handed for a video game podcast.
It's true, but we're also going over a financial section right now.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to shoot down what you're trying to say. I just wanted to say that, that is the volatility of the market, and it's not just Nintendo or not just this situation that could arise on the topic of China. I think every company that is a public traded company has these struggles.
So, and I know when we were reporting this last week, there was a commenter had pointed out that Nintendo stock had gone up 13%.
Yeah.
with the rumors that this is actually happening, which is great. Awesome. Go for it. However, in response to this, Furukawa, I'm going to quote him when he says, "Our current applications are currently for hardware, but we also need inspection for our software." And the way that I'm interpreting that is a lot of the hit-selling games that go along with that, they're going to be delaying the process of them actually pushing their product out on there. I mean, Nintendo's definitely taking their time with this and wanting to make sure they do their steps right, but I'm worried that shareholders and stock investors are going to like jump the gun and then not realize how long this process is going to take and be like, okay, I'm going to back out of this now while, you know, the stocks are so much higher. Like, I don't want to see a repeat of what happened with Pokemon Go.
That's just the volatility of the market, man. Because it's not so much within Nintendo or Tencent's control about getting approved for their software, because each software has to go through the approval process.
I'm just saying, like, as far as like my reactions for when I heard about this collaboration between Nintendo and Tencent, that was the strongest opinion that I generated when I was reading it.
I get it.
Which is much better than meh.
Yeah, I can't believe you wrote that in your notes, you jerk.
I have all sort of sarcastic, sassy notes in here.
And some news that just came out not too long ago. Nintendo says it has nothing new to announce about first-party 3DS games.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, right? Nintendo told Kotaku in a brief statement, "We have nothing new to announce regarding first-party software for the Nintendo 3DS family of systems. We can confirm that new software is coming from third-party publishers," end quote. So this is as close as we've gotten so far to hearing that the 3DS is certainly dead from the mouth of the beast, Nintendo. So, I mean, I still love my system. I'm still playing it. I still got plenty of games to be playing on that thing, but it's kind of nice to hear a little bit of a reaffirmation that Nintendo will be focusing on the Switch, just considering how quickly that market dropped off.
I think it's Nintendo's way of saying, hey, the 3DS isn't dead, but we definitely have checked it into a home.
It's morbid.
It's what it is.
So we had so much to talk about. There was even more to talk about. Go to our website, nintendoeverything.com, for all the news 24/7, nonstop. Holy crap.
And graphs. We have graphs over there.
Bar graphs and pie graphs. Oh my. Line graphs?
Yeah, some line graphs.
So let's talk about additional DLC. Galen, what do you have to recommend to the people?
In honor of the Avengers Endgame, which came out this weekend.
Don't spoil anything. Have you seen it yet?
No, and I'm not going to be able to see it until like next week. I'm jumping ahead when I say my Twitter. Don't send me any spoilers. For the love of God, I'm not going to be able to see it until like next week.
I know, right? Like people are like, oh, spoilers without context. It's like, no, there's context in that. Can you like knock it?
Right? Oh, can I also say I saw the stupidest article the other day. It was all about, hey, you guys going to see Avengers Endgame? Well, here are the top places to go to the bathroom in this 3.5 hour long movie. And I'm like, why would you make an article about this?
I mean, it's not like 3-hour movies haven't come along recently. Like most of the superhero movies have been like 2 hours and 40 minutes long or something, just barely hitting that 3-hour mark, you know?
But I just absolutely hate the arrogance of somebody saying, hey, these are the parts of the movie that aren't worth paying attention to. You can probably run to the bathroom during that point.
Yeah, that's also crappy.
That is so... Anyway, that is not my additional DLC.
That's just a headline, by the way, that people want to share. That there isn't an article. People read the headline. They're like, haha, funny, share.
My additional DLC this week is the YouTube channel Because Science. This is a channel that goes over a bunch of pop culture nerd topics, and they apply actual scientific method and equations to trying to figure out various questions. The link that I have here is actually about the Ant-Man versus Thanos' butt meme that has been floating around the internet. lately.
What?
Have you not heard of this?
I mean, of course, I thought about it immediately when I saw Thanos and knew that Ant-Man wasn't in the first Infinity War, but I can't believe that you're putting this on the podcast. What are you doing?
No. They approach it from a scientific method, and they go over, hey, if this was actually going to happen based on what we have seen of Ant-Man's powers, what would happen if this actually, was a thing? And I just think it's really funny and very topical with what came out this weekend. In all seriousness, though, the rest of his channel is really well thought out and very informative and entertaining. So, highly recommend it, even if it's not this particular video. I just linked it because I thought it was funny. So, Oni, what do you got?
Okay, so the real degenerates, shout out to my real degenerates. We thought about this theory at least a year ago, maybe even the year prior when Ant-Man's movie came out. We thought about something like that, for sure. So that's not new to me. But the memes that have blown up in the last, 2 months have been great.
Yeah.
And I have been enjoying them.
Mm-hmm. Well, the fact that they had Josh Brolin actually send out the tweet of just him on the toilet with just trying to pass out Ant-Man.
Oh, that's gross.
It happened and it made me laugh.
That's the worst thing I've heard. Not whatever the stupid stuff was you said earlier. So my DLC is much better than yours.
Okay. Screw you too.
My DLC is my lovely Dutch homeboy on YouTube by the name of Thor High Heels. I'm recommending his newest video in his Metal Gear Solid retrospective. It is actually part 7, and it's his longest video he's created yet at just under 50 minutes. You can watch any, because he goes over the retrospective in certain chunks, so you can watch them out of order even, so it's totally fine. Jump in at part 7. This episode covers Metal Gear Solid 4, Metal Gear Solid Touch, MGS Survive, and anything in between, as well as Hideo Kojima's relationship with Konami. The video is informational, but it also has a lot of very crass comedy in it as well. That's kind of how all of his videos are, so NSFW warning for you, in case you are listening to it aloud at work. Don't do that. Don't do anything like that at work. That's stupid. Anyway, Thor High Heels writes comedy into his scripts, and it always helps the essay move along at a great pace, and I really enjoy his questionable comments that make me chuckle and shake my head in disbelief, being like, wait, what did you just say? And then he's already on to the next topic. Watching the video, he's really poured a lot of time and effort and research into the essay, and I want to help promote people who put their soul into their work rather than like YouTubers who chase the algorithms or whatever and just try and go for the quick method.
Oh, yeah.
So check out his channel if you're into PS1 games as well, GameCube, PS2 era games, all that stuff. He goes all over the map, but usually it's about odd games that also cover like kind of disturbing or like philosophical topics or have some sort of mystery to them that's open to interpretation. I am a big fan of his very chill videos. Plus he's got a nice voice. He's a Dutch guy, so he's got a bit of a Dutch accent to his English, and he dentalizes a lot of his T's and D's, and for some reason it's just very aesthetically pleasing. Thor High Heels on YouTube. And now let's read that email from last week that we didn't read. Because we ran out of time last week. Except this week, we're like twice as long over time. What's our logic? I don't know. Don't apply logic to it. Shut up.
That's pretty much
Shut up.
it.
And if you have a question like that one that I just proposed, write us an email. We got an email. You can write us an email. Oh my God. Nintendo everything pod @gmail.com.
If you cannot understand his ramblings, that email again is nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
And your email might sound a little something like this.
Evan, by the way, thank you very much for your patience from last week, Evan. Evan writes, "Hey guys, what's your favorite comfort food while playing games?"
Thank you, Evan.
Thanks, Evan. That's nice and short and sweet. I like that. Oni, what's your favorite comfort food?
So I'm not quite sure about this, but probably some sort of snack mix. There is this particular snack mix that's full of like nuts and crackers that are great, like little Japanese stuff that I really like. Also, nori flavored potato chips. That's like a type of flaky seaweed. But honestly, I don't like eating finger foods because it gets the controller like kind of greasy or gross or something. So if I am eating a finger food like that, then I have like a wet napkin next to me or like a wet cloth. So that way I can wipe my fingers each time I take a bite. It's a little neurotic, I know.
Yeah.
But
you know what? I'm the same exact way. I have a napkin, on the table next to whatever I'm eating, just because you got to keep that, controller integrity in check.
They're expensive, so I'm not going to waste it because I got greasy fingers, sausage fingers, like gross. Greasy sausage fingers. That's why you got to put the sausage in your breast pocket, and then you lean down and then you chew the sausage with your mouth and your hands don't touch it. But that's besides the point. You don't want to ruin your controllers and you have to clean them. Or buy a new $80 controller or whatever. Galen, what's your favorite kind of sausage? I mean...
So this was an interesting one because when I was thinking about it, I don't actually eat a lot of snacks when I'm playing games. Just because I don't want to mess up my controllers or anything like that. I have found out that it's usually some sort of chip of some type, mostly Doritos or, tortilla chips or something like that.
Corn chips.
But I find that I use it as a way to console my loss when I'm playing games.
Oh, that's really good.
Primarily, if I'm ever playing a game and I'm stuck in a particular part, and I do this a lot when I'm playing those... How do I describe them? The skill-based ones where you're meant to get it perfectly or you're going to die and you have to go through the same thing like 20, 30 times until you get just that perfect run for it. You know the kind of games I'm talking about?
Pixel perfect platforming?
Yeah, like N++ or games like that. I find when I'm in those situations, every time I die, I take a chip and then I try again. And then I die, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to take 2 chips. And then,
And then suddenly there's no more chips in the house.
And then there's suddenly no more chips. And I'm still, dying on the screen. And I'm just like, now I'm sad and hungry.
That's really interesting and surprisingly introspective to hear.
Yeah, it explains a lot.
So what a simple question that can evoke such a great answer from one of the 2 people doing this podcast. Hey, great email, Evan. If you, again, want to send us a weird email or a nice email or a simple email that evokes such weird, nice, or simple answers, email again is nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
What is with you today?
I don't know. Let's end the podcast. Clearly, I'm breaking down. I need to oil the gaskets or whatever.
If you would like to give advice to Oni on how to speak coherently and put together your thoughts,
I'm all ears.
Which I definitely have no way to give advice on that, you can send your emails to nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
So what's coming up? What's coming out on the website? We got reviews of Cuphead, reviews of Dragon's Dogma, and SteamWorld Quest Hand of Gilgamesh that just came out. We've also got some exclusive translations of Box Boy, Box Girl from Famitsu that is going to be coming out soon. Coming out? Whatever. And there's going to be some more reviews. I forgot which ones, but just check it out. We got so many things that we're reviewing this week. We're busting them out. We got lots of reviewers and they're busting their butts. And also, we'll be doing an extra spoiler cast this week. So look forward to the Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon Everybody spoiler cast this week. You're getting lots of extra voices coming out of us.
Nice.
So again, check out nintendoeverything.com or our Twitter @nineverything. YouTube is youtube.com/nineverything. And then I have my Twitter, which is @oni_dino. And my Instagram, which I've been uploading more stuff to lately, such as my adorable Yoshi amiibo. That's @oni__dino for the Instagram. And then Galen.
You can use your sausage fingers to send your tweets.
You couldn't even get through that. How are you going to tell a joke if you're going to make yourself laugh?
Oh, because it's a funny joke.
Also, don't tell any of our listeners what to do with their sausage fingers, okay? That's inappropriate.
Send me all of your tweets at Mobius087 on Twitter. Oni, I haven't gotten a chance to tell you this. Last weekend, we had Easter over at our place, and my nieces came over. They're little kids. And as soon as they came in and started looking around for eggs and everything like that, they immediately saw the little yarn Yoshi amiibo. And they thought that was one of the presents, and they grabbed it and they put it in their basket and started playing around with it. And I didn't have the heart to tell them, no, that little Yoshi is mine, and just take it away from them.
So you let them keep it?
I think they got bored and left it on the ground, and I Gollum snagged it off the ground and crept away with it.
Okay, that's appropriate, I suppose. So share this podcast with somebody you love. Well, actually, share this with somebody you hate, because I don't think that you want to put this for somebody who you love. Wow, this is terrible. And for everything Nintendo,
stay tuned to Nintendo Everything.
Bye-bye.
Later.
See you later this week. Spoilercast.